Welcome back everyone. Look, I'll be honest with you. I sat down today to make a completely different video and then I saw the data and I can't ignore this anymore. Bitcoin is at 69k as I'm recording this. 2 days ago we were at 66k below the 200-week EMA, fear and greed at 12. I'm not going to pretend that wasn't uncomfortable, it was, but something just shifted. And I mean just as in the last few hours. Case fire talks between the US and Iran are active right now. A 45-day deal is reportedly on the table. Trump himself said there's a good chance of a deal within 24 hours. Crypto jumped 2.5% on that news alone, and 255 million in short positions, people betting Bitcoin goes down, just got liquidated. 73% of them. And then I looked at the on-chain data underneath all of this, and that's the part I genuinely can't stop thinking about. I'm going to show you a number in a few minutes that made me sit back in my chair. By the end of this video, you will understand exactly why I feel the way I feel right now. So let's get into it. Because the whale data that just dropped this week, I want to show you what it actually means. Because on the surface, it looks like the worst news of the month. And I think it's the opposite. Alright, chart first because the picture changed this week. We're back above the 200-week EMA at 68k. I know that one line doesn't sound like a big deal, but if you've been watching this channel, you know how much I've been talking about that level. It's the most historically significant support in Bitcoin's entire existence. We went below it, it was ugly, and now we're back above it. The RSI is starting to turn up from one of the most extreme oversold readings we've seen since FTX in November 2022. Not explosive yet, but the direction has changed, and the MVRV Z-score, the metric that compares Bitcoin's current value to what the average holder paid, has ticked up from 0.39 to 0.50, still in historic bottom territory, but it's moving. And when this thing starts moving up from these levels, historically, it doesn't stop quickly. First resistance is 72,000, then 75,000. The real target, if a ceasefire gets confirmed, is the 200-day EMA at 84k. That's the path. And look, the risk case is also real. Deal falls apart, oil spikes, we retest 65k to 68k. I have dry powder ready for exactly that. But right now the probability just shifted and I can feel it in the data. I want to show you the whale data now because I promise you this is not what you think it is. Real quick, I partnered with BitUnix. New users earn up to 40 USDT in future bonuses. Deposit 100 USDT, get up to 20 USDT. Complete your first futures trade, get another 20. Link is in the description, by the way. According to Glassnode, Bitcoin whales and sharks, wallets holding between 100 and 10,000 BTC, were realizing losses at an average of 337 million every single day throughout first quarter of 2026. In total, these large holders locked in around $30.9 billion in realized losses this year. The headline compares it directly to second quarter of 2022, and most people see that comparison and think, okay, we're going lower, a lot lower. And I get that reaction, I genuinely do, but here's what I can't ignore. In second quarter of 2022, when whale realized losses peaked, Bitcoin bottomed. In March 2020, when realized losses spiked, Bitcoin bottomed. Every single time in Bitcoin's history where we've seen this magnitude of large holders selling at a loss, it has marked the final stage of capitulation, not beginning of a collapse, the end of one. Think about what realized losses actually mean. It means large holders, the people who are supposed to be the smartest money in this market, are selling their coins below what they paid for them. They're not selling for profit, they're selling because they are scared. And when the scariest, most informed holders in the market are panic selling, that's not a signal to run. That's historically been the signal to pay very close attention to. Glassnode said it themselves. A cooldown in realized losses toward $25 million per day would be, in their words, a prerequisite for the base formation that historically precedes a sustainable bull market. We're not there yet, but $337 million in daily losses doesn't sustain indefinitely. These sellers eventually run out, and when they do, there's nobody left to push price down. And then there's something the Bitcoin Policy Institute said this week that I think matters more than most people realize. Bitcoin and the US dollar, they are not enemies, they're symbiotic. The biggest Bitcoin trading pair is BTC USD. Every time Bitcoin adoption grows, demand for dollar-denominated stablecoin grows with it. That narrative shift in Washington from Bitcoin threatens the dollar to Bitcoin strengthens it. That's what unlocks the new wave of institutional money. And now I want to connect all of this to what's happening with Iran right now, because if this deal goes through in the next 24 hours, everything I just show you gets a catalyst. Here's what's happening on the ground right now. Trump gave Iran a hard deadline to reopen the Strait of Hormuz, threatening consequences if they don't. But simultaneously, and this is the part I keep coming back to, he told Fox News that Iran is negotiating now and there's a good chance of a deal within 24 hours. And Axios separately reported that US, Iran, and regional meditators are actively working through the terms of a 45-day ceasefire that could permanently end the war. The market didn't wait for that confirmation. Total crypto market cap added about $70 billion in hours. Bitcoin tapped 69,500K, and then $255 million in leverage shorts got wiped out. 73% of all liquidations were people who were betting against Bitcoin. That tells you something about who was positioned wrong coming into today. If a deal gets done, here's the chain reaction. The Strait of Hormuz reopens, oil comes off $112 a barrel, Americans stop losing $240 million in a day in extra fuel costs. CPI inflation, which is currently projected to hit 3.7% if oil stays elevated, another 7 weeks reverses. The Fed's hands get untied, rate cuts come back, risk assets reprice, Bitcoin leads. The risk case is simple. The deadline passes, no deal, escalation continues, oil spikes, we retest the 65k to 68k zone. I've got dry powder stage for exactly that. But for the first time since February 28th, when this war started, a deal feels close, really close, and I can't ignore that. So here's where I'm at, completely honestly, because I think you deserve to know exactly what I'm doing with all of this. Also, BitUnix deposit event is still live. Deposit 100 USDT, hold 3 days, get a 100 USDT position voucher. Tiers go up to 2000 USDT for bigger rewards. Slots are limited, link is in the description by the way. Okay, here's where I'm at, completely honestly. I've been adding through this whole drawdown at 71k, at 68k, at 65k. Every single entry felt wrong. Every headline was designed to make you sell, and I kept coming back to the same three things: the 200-week EMA, the NVRV Z-score, and the fact that realized losses at this scale have only ever shown up right before Bitcoin found its floor. And now for the first time in months, the macro is starting to move in the right direction. Ceasefire talks are live, whale capitulation is peaking, the NVRV is sticking up, price is back above the 200-week, and the people who bet against this market just got 255 million liquidated out of their positions. I'm not selling a single coin right now, and if a ceasefire gets confirmed, I'm adding one more meaningful position before this market moves, because we've watched Bitcoin long enough to know that by the time it's obvious to everyone that the bottom is in, the bottom is already well behind you. And before I go, 21 million Bitcoin, about 4 million lost forever, 70% of supply hasn't moved in over a year, the whale data shows the scared money is leaving, the BPI data shows the regulatory narrative is shifting, the Iran data shows the macro headwind is cracking, and the chart shows we're holding the most important support level in Bitcoin's history. I can't ignore this anymore, and I don't think you should either. Base case: ceasefire confirmed, oil falls, Fed cuts, whale selling exhausts, NVRV continues climbing, Bitcoin clears 72 to 75k and grinds toward the 200-day at 84k. Risk case: no deal, oil spikes, BTC retest 65k to 68k, dry powder ready. The level 68k holds as support. This is real, breaks again, back to the plan. The next 24 to 48 hours matter, stay close. Let me know what you're thinking in comments. Thank you so much for watching, and I will talk to you guys in the next one.